Hello, boys and girls. We're here. We're doing it. Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr Podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. I appreciate all the reviews that you guys have left so far. Shout out to our sponsor, Cushy Dreams. They are my go-to for all things CBD related. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling like you are dealing with some anxiety, I highly recommend Cushy Dreams. They offer a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They specialize in extraordinary rich CBD hemp flower, aka bud, in cans and pre-roll CBD joints. You can enjoy all the health benefits of CBD without getting high, under 0.3% THC in everything you see here. It's cannabis that ships directly to you, and it's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Looks, feels, smells just like high-quality marijuana, but you're not going to get high. It's 100% hand-trimmed, never machine-trimmed. They do tons of independent lab tests for compliance and purity. All are posted on their website, cushydreams.com. That's Cushy with a K, USHY. And best of all, it's grown here in the USA. So go to cushydreams.com and get some high-quality CBD bud at checkout. Use promo code CMP for 20% off every order and smoke your CBD. Quick shout out to some stand-up I'm doing. This Thursday, I'm going to be headlining the Stress Factory in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And then this weekend, I'll be with the boys from Comedians of the Compound. I think we're doing a show at the Brunswick Mall. I think it's related to Uncle Vinny's. That's in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. And then the following Tuesday, the 20th, I'll be headlining Jinx on the Boardwalk. Both of those shows are in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, near the Jersey Shore. Then I'm headed to New Orleans, August 13th and 14th. To do the new comedy theater out there. And then I'll be back to Vegas September 10th and 11th with Comedians of the Compound. We'll be doing shows at the Plaza Hotel, the Comedy Works club down there. And then back to Dallas September 17th and 18th. I'll be headlining Hyenas out there. All right. Those of you that were here earlier, he's here with us now for real, in the flesh. It's happening. We've delayed your gratification on this guest, and I think it'll be to your benefit. He's a buddy. You know him. You love him. He is the host of Heck Off Commie on YouTube. He is probably the biggest up-and-coming Christian conservative content creator that I can think of, that I know of. So that's saying a lot. Guys, welcome to the show, John Doyle, the epic John Doyle.
So true. So true. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that very warm introduction, especially because I totally missed our appointment earlier. My mistake. I apologize for that.
Totally okay. Do you want to tell the boys and girls what happened?
So Elijah Schaefer's, actually, I don't know if I can talk about this because it's his family, but somebody in his family got some like bug, and then it ended up infecting Elijah and everybody like in our little group down here. And like, so Sydney Watson has it, I now have it, and so I just feel like death. And then last night, I went out with Elijah to discuss business, and then we ended up taking a couple shots, and then one thing led to another, and here we are.
As you do, you know, everyone does business differently in the modern age. And sometimes, I mean, like we were just all in Vegas together, you know, in what I like to call kind of like a mini Blaze Media conference we had out there in Vegas. That was super fun.
Yeah.
Met a lot of people. I think we had some business too in the cabanas there. We had a good time.
Well, that's the thing. And as you know, because you were in Vegas with me, I don't like drinking. It's not my thing.
No, I did not see you even buzzed.
I know. And even like when you did your ad for like CBD, I like had to Google. I was like, what's CBD? Like, I don't know what that is. So, and then like, you know, I got down here because I'm from Michigan. And so, you know, I didn't go to college. I never had like that party experience in high school. I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to just like make memes. And so then I get down here and it's like all I've found out business, especially in media, especially in political media, is like done within the context of like alcohol.
Wow.
Because people are trying to like find out like who you really are and like see if you say anything weird or if you're going to like, you know, tell them something. And so we've there's been a little bit of an adjustment that's had to be made there. So
it almost sounds like, like get somebody drunk and you see who they really are. I think
literally, no, that they want to see like if you're cool, if you'll rat on your friends, or if you'll tell them something about you that is bad or something like that. And even if you go into DC, there are people who will get you drunk and then like roofie you basically, and they'll take you up to hotel rooms and take pictures of you in bed with underage girls that they hire to just have blackmail on you. It's like you have to be very careful. That's why like I hate doing. Hey Elijah, I want to talk to you about Blaze, women, and content life balance. Cool, yes. Let's meet for drinks. Okay, 90 minutes later. It's all right. We love the big guy. It was my fault. It's totally my fault.
It's okay. It's you're young, grasshopper. You're still learning. Yeah, if you didn't have college, it will take you a minute to figure out how much you can drink and what you can drink. And you moved last time I talked to you, I think it was in February, when I was down there in Texas, and you had just moved and you were kind of getting used to it down there. How has the adjustment been to living in Texas? And you're from Michigan, right?
Yes. Pretty normal. No real hiccups. Well, actually, that's a total lie. We had that hailstorm that totaled my
blackout. Car. Oh, the hailstorm. Okay.
We had to build this studio here in the apartment, which it turns out that I think somebody in the apartment complex, it's a nice like area, but I think that somebody is like growing marijuana in one of their apartments because it always like smells like it. And then they left very vague notices on all of our doors, like, hey, for the physical needs of the community, we need to do inspections on all the apartments. And
wow.
So I'm going to have to find a way to explain this little construction project that I've done here. Just like, yeah, this is like sort of my racism HQ here. And we've got like the lights and everything.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
You're kind of you're like a pioneer. You're like one of the few conservative, like I think it's because you're young. You're literally a pioneer. Yeah, you're pioneering the conservative content creation industry. And I'm sure like nobody tells you when you decide to do this, like how to set up your set, how to put things together, like what equipment to buy. That's all just through like word of mouth and like talking to friends.
Yeah. I was just talking about that with somebody recently. Like there's no real, like you have mentors, but even they've only been doing this 2 years longer than you. And so you really just kind of have to trust your instincts and go from there. And a lot of people just can't do it for whatever reason. And they just fall off. And I think that's where my fans think that I'm at right now, because I've been so inconsistent with posting content recently because of reasons. And so now we're going to get back into it, hopefully. And then they are going to be very mad at me, which is okay. And I understand, but I'm going to try to get more consistent with everything, because I mean, what, did I build this studio for nothing? No, that would be lame.
Yeah. You didn't hang that helmet up for nothing.
Exactly.
And so you took about a 3-month break from making content, and you were kind of already saying, I was going to ask, like, what are the pros and cons of this? Like, cons are, your fans are like, what's going on, John? Are you done?
Well, and that's what sucks about it too, is it wasn't even supposed to be a break. If I could do it over again, I would have already had the studio design when I moved down here, so I could start building it immediately. Because like you mentioned, like in terms of putting lights in, when I built my first studio, I just went on Amazon and just thought I might need that and added a bunch of stuff to cart. And then I bought it. I set it up myself. But this is like professionally designed and everything. And I underestimated the amount of time that would take. So there was the process of getting the design and everything like rendered, and then getting the supplies, and then actually like bringing people out to like build it with the person who designed it here. And then the cameras that we got were back ordered, the lights, and it was just like such a process. And then even now I still like don't really know how to use everything, because it's much more sophisticated than I'm trained for, because I'm not trained for anything. Like I used to have Panasonic camcorders, and I just hit the record button and then it's like good to go. But these are like DSLRs and they have to be in focus. Like the first video I put up in the new studio, I was like slightly out of focus, and I almost was going to type something like, hey guy, I'm sorry, I'm just not. But then I was like, no, I'm just going to like make a joke of it. So I think I commented something like, remember, you don't have to be in focus to stay focused.
Yeah.
And they loved it. So it's okay.
Do you consider yourself, John, like a little bit of a perfectionist? Like your videos are so
my
good.
Autism.
You're
You're
so good at what you do. You're so well researched. I have been singing the praises of your the last time we talked, I called it your porn video. I have to be a little bit more careful. Like I have to be careful with my words. Yes, it's actually the how porn is destroying you and your country critique video. I've been singing the praises of this video, telling everybody to watch it. If you have a spare hour and 42 minutes, highly recommend it. I actually spoke about this video with I think a mutual friend of ours, Brittany Venti, her episode. I did another interview with her as it comes out today. She was like, "Oh yeah, I know him," and she was like, she's all on board, completely agrees. She thinks she made a strong case for why she thinks porn leads to rape and sexual violence. Like she has some hot takes. Probably the average bear is gonna find her to be like too extreme. Like she thinks all porn should be illegal, and I'm just like, all right, well, let's be realistic. That's never gonna happen. It's way too profitable. But I like what you did. You were very well researched in your video, and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna show people what the real negative effects are.
Brittany Venti thinks I have autism too.
She might have autism.
Well, yeah, no, we were at our friend Jessica's wedding down in Florida, and we went kayaking. And I'm like in nature, just like, I don't feel like I have anything to say. I'm just like fine. She's like, you're really quiet. Do you have autism? And I was like, probably.
Wow, she's so blunt.
No, I like her video and my video like juxtaposed because I'm a young man was much more focused on the effects that it has on the boys, which a lot of people don't even think about because, you know, the surface level arguments against it are like, it's degrading to women, which it is. But I didn't really think that would be as effective, frankly, to my audience. And even more frank, I really don't care that much compared. Like if I had to choose what's worse between like, you know, women feeling degraded and like boys literally rewiring their neurochemistry to make them depressed, I'm probably going to like focus a little bit more on that in terms of what's important. Because I feel like women are just always going to be insecure. I feel like it's in their nature. I don't know. But I like that. I seriously, I do think that's true. But
I don't necessarily totally disagree.
I think that Brittany, like as a young woman, it's better for her to take that approach of like, you know, this leads to sexual violence and like rape fantasies and like all sorts of weird stuff like that, which I think I may have touched on like in the last part of the video, but that wasn't really the thesis of it.
And of course, humans are selfish-ish creatures in a way. Like it's going to be way more compelling of an argument to be like, yeah, these are the effects of you personally in the immediate future. Like if you were going to try to get somebody to give up their iPhone, you wouldn't be like, well, it was put together with child labor. Like that's somebody else's problem. Or would you say it's affecting your attention span, rate, you know, whatever comes out of the phone. It's not called an EFT, whatever you would just say, oh, here's how it affects you directly.
The
negatively.
Radiation.
Yeah, the radiation or whatever.
That's why I've got this phone case. It blocks all the radiation. Well, it blocks like 99% of it. And it looks dorky because it's got like this thing.
It's like a wallet. Oh, yeah, you have a flap. Okay.
Yeah, well, I have to because 1 in 3 millennial men have low sperm count or are infertile.
Whoa.
Partially because, you know, obviously the plastics and everything like that we're eating, but also because of cell phone radiation, because you've got that thing in your pocket all day and it's literally
dick and balls.
It's frying them. Yeah. And so you have to block that radiation. And then it also does other stuff like it, you know, makes it so hackers can't like walk by you and like swipe your credit card information, stuff like that.
Whoa.
But very important. I want them to sponsor me. I want to see if I can like, because I unironically usually that's how I get sponsors. Like I use their products already and then I like send them an email. I'm like, hey, do you want to pay me to talk about how much I like your stuff? They're like, okay. So
yeah, the best. Yeah, that sponsors should want somebody who's really passionate about their product already, because then it doesn't come off like you don't care.
Yeah. It's kind of like a meme too with my audience, because I always have iTarget, which is a company that sells dry fire training kits for guns, and then also like We the People holsters, and like that's it. So like every video is gonna have like one of those two sponsors.
Well, it makes sense because ammo's apparently so hard to come by. Yes. And it's expensive, so it's a great idea that you could practice and not have to spend money on ammo. Go to a place.
Product, yeah. I bought one for my uncle for Christmas, and he texted me the day after it was delivered, and he had been playing with it so much that night that he literally like wore the skin off his finger from racking the slide so much. It was pretty funny.
Wow, that's cool. So what's your promo code in case people want to check that out?
Oh boy, wethepeopleholsters.com/Doyle, itarget.com, promo code Doyle, I think.
Yeah, everything's Doyle.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And like, yeah, not I just like I can't say enough about that video. Everybody should watch it. But if you could pick one or two key takeaways from your criticism of porn, like if someone's listening right now, you know what it is? I think a lot of men go, "Oh no, I'm sure that's what you get. Most of your criticism are guys who are like, I don't want to give this up. Like I can, because it feels so good in the short term. It's a distraction. And I don't know. I think about your stuff a lot. And every time somebody's like, make an OnlyFans. And now I'm getting to this point where I'm like, no, because if I make an OnlyFans, like I don't want you jerking off to me. I want you jerking off to your wife, or like that's time that you should spend figuring out how to like fuck your girlfriend better, or like make things hotter with your wife. Like, and I know that's like never anybody's first choice, but like, why can't we shift? Like, I think it's a valuable endeavor to like shift the focus to like, yeah, focus on who you're with, or use this time to meet a quality woman.
Yeah. I guess I would say firstly, there's kind of that meme of like it's an older one, like subliminal messages, and like, oh, they put a penis on the cover of The Little Mermaid to corrupt children. And it's like, sure, but there is something to be said about that. Like everything that you see, you do process either implicitly or explicitly, and it does affect how you view the world. And so specifically with pornography, if you're watching pornography regularly, and if that's probably the case with, I think, 85% of men who I've like sort of manufactured that figure in the video. It's like 80% of men are watching porn at least once a week. And just given what I know, I would argue that they're addicted. And then I was like, that even seems low. So I threw in an extra 5% just for good measure. That's the figure, 85%. So I guess first I would say, I wouldn't try to make an argument in favor of it unless I hadn't been watching it for, at least 2 weeks or something. So like, if you can't even go 2 weeks without watching it, don't tell me why it's so good for you. Like, you need to recognize that you are probably addicted, and your brain has literally strengthened the neural pathways that you've created to make you want to pursue this thing above literally everything else, because it's chasing that dopamine rush, or that, what is it?
Like to distract yourself.
What is it? It's the dopamine, and then the what's
serotonin?
Released?
Is it?
No.
Is it
the actual chemical that's like released? That's not dopamine. I'm blanking right now because I'm deathly ill. Anyways, so there's that. So like, if you're watching it, what you're literally watching is some dude have sex with this girl, and like presumably you would want to be the dude in the situation, but you're not. And so that's kind of, I think, why a lot of guys get depressed, like when they're watching it so much, is it's kind of like reminding you almost that like you are in a way being cucked. Like you're kind of like watching this other guy do what ideally you would be doing, but you're not. And you're like literally just touching yourself like a monkey, and it's kind of gay in a way. But anyway, so there's that. And then I would also say that as a man, whether or not we like to admit it, our entire like driving force is kind of like a sexual energy, because we want to make ourselves as basically competent and influential as possible, so as to like get ourselves the highest quality woman or whatever. And when you are doing something that so consistently depletes your testosterone and your sexual energy, it kind of like turns you into a loser. And that's not even taking into account like the what it does to your brain in terms of dopamine, which is literally the chemical that motivates you to do things, and it depletes that. It fries the receptors in your brain, and it makes you less sensitive overall, which then means that even in your everyday life, if you're drinking coffee that you really like, or you're driving with the windows down, doing things that normally make you happy, it's going to make you feel less pleasure from doing those things, because it's the same chemical in your brain that's been messed up. So yeah, and then that's going to make you depressed and like less motivated to do things. It'll make you feel like a zombie. And so I guess that's what I would say, is that one, you're not even like, and I'm not a proponent of like, casual sex and hooking up and all that stuff, but like, I'm also not out of touch. So like, I understand like where the male brain is at. And so first I would say like, what's stopping you from like being that guy? Like, why do you have to just be the dude, in your room by yourself? I think it's kind of like psychologically manipulating the way that we perceive ourselves, and also perceive like women, and how those relationships are formed. And then from there, I would say additionally, your capacity to even be that guy in the first place is being diminished by like jerking off to it, because you're literally rewiring your brain. So
yeah, and you don't actually want to be that guy because that guy has to shoot like liquid Viagra into his dick to even like function. And he has to be able to come in front of like probably 9 other guys on the crew. So it's like don't ever envy a male porn star. Their job is like literally very hard.
I will make a note of that. Do not envy male porn stars.
No, don't. Quick super chat from Sectus Gaming. Great job on Friday Night Tights last week. I hope to one day see Doyle on there as well. I also want to thank you, Chrissy, for going on Elijah's show, since that's how I found you. Keep up the great work. God bless. Thank you, Sectus. And to our point about, well, basically, does this make it, do your views on porn, on women, on just everything in general, does that make it hard for somebody like you to find a girl, a woman, a girlfriend? Like, does or no? Is the opposite true?
This is almost counterintuitive. I like you, but I usually just don't like talking to girls because I just find that you're different because you're more mature, but girls my age are just so I don't even know. They're like basically physical aggregates of preferences for Netflix programs and fast food restaurants.
They're too programmed.
There's like nothing there. And even when we try to talk about politics, it's like they want to do heck off Commie, except, oh, well, this time I'll talk to you about what I think. And they'll ask me a question. And this sounds so conceited, but it just happens to be the case. It's like, I can't even answer the question because there's just so much information that you don't know that is like necessary to adequately answer the question. But I've had like situations where like one time back home in Michigan, I was in a Starbucks over in an area that happens to be right next to one of the Catholic schools, private Catholic schools where like it's separate, which is epic. It's like male, female, whatever. And there was this girl there, and she asked me like how to spell a word or something because she was writing a paper. And we started talking, and she asked what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh, I'm doing research for a video about like why men and women are like completely different, and why the gaps that exist because of the way that the brains are structured, whatever." And so we started talking, and I was just being myself, just saying things like, she's like, "Well, what do you think about gay marriage?" And I was like, "What? Gay marriage? What's that? When 2 men get married, they do what? Like, that's not a thing." Like, just totally just.
You were like trolling her a little.
Yeah, and I've noticed that the more blunt that I am with my views about women in particular, like they kind of like it in a way. And I think it's because it's true, and they know that, and they've got this like crystallized feminist conditioning that has told them that in order to feel fulfilled, they need to go and get an education, and then fall into debt, and then go be a working woman, and then go through what I refer to as the sucking dick and traveling phase, probably in their 30s, where then they settle down and try to find a man. And I have no tolerance for that, and I won't beat around the bush. I'm just very frank, and they like it, which is interesting because like even I don't know if you ever watch me on other podcasts, especially Elijah's.
I'm watching Elijah's. Yeah, you're awesome.
I give Sav a hard time. Like I give all the women just a hard time because it's funny to me, and I've never had like a problem where it's just like, oh, well, you said that women shouldn't vote, and now I don't want to date you anymore or something like that. It's just like not the
Meanwhile,
case.
They haven't voted in the last.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's always the thing is like, in a way, the people who criticize me for just acting that way are more because I don't disrespect women. I don't have like I don't think that they're inferior or anything. I just like recognize nature. But I think that the people who criticize me for that actually view women in a much more degrading way, because whenever I say anything that isn't so nice to a girl, the criticism is always, oh, this is a guy who needs to get laid. Oh, he's an incel or whatever. And it's like, think about that. What that is saying is he insulted women. Therefore, he needs to be cut off from the only thing that women can provide, which is sex. That's like what's that saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with anytime like you criticize an e-girl online or something. It's just like, okay, incel. Okay, it's like literally saying that, oh, well, you're just not going to get laid because that's the only thing that women can provide, which I think is degrading. I think that's not true. I think women can provide so much for the world, and they're so wonderful and vivacious, and I love women.
That's such a go-to insult, right? Like, oh, especially like anybody who's like not a moron online. Oh, he must be an incel. Like that's just an easy insult for anybody who's kind of like bucking the norm.
Yeah. And it's a cope too, because it's like, you are like, if you call me like an asshole, okay, that means that like I am, not a nice person or whatever. But if you call me an incel, what you're basically betraying is that you structure your value hierarchy around access to women's bodies, which is like basically female approval. So you're calling like me an incel because you prioritized like taking advantage of girls with daddy issues so much. It's like, I think that's something more emblematic of your character than it is mine. So
Yeah, it just shows like where their values are at. That's so true. And you're like, no, I'm gonna like not spend my sexual coins so frivolously. Like I'm gonna wait and find someone high value.
Yeah.
Quick, thank you for the super chat. Sectus, why not make an OnlyFans and just post super based hot takes? Again, like I could do this, but I don't know. I feel like my calling is to make people like laugh and think. And again, like it's not just like it's nothing to just like the amount of time and clothes. It's a really like it's a big time commitment to like doing OnlyFans. It's really like from the girls I've talked to, it's like another job, and I just don't have time, and I just fucking don't want to be known for that. Thank you very much. Daniel Knock, they are riding the CC cock carousel. Are you talking about the second digging traveling?
And the toll will be paid. The toll is always paid because they think that, and this is very sad, they think that they can just kind of go through that little phase and then it's not going to catch up to them, but it will, because all of the nice guys are looking for the nice girls and vice versa, and they're going to find each other. And so you get to a position where you're a young woman and you've had that experience, but it will betray you. I'm of the opinion that sin makes women age faster. And it's interesting, and not even like sin, like, maybe if you like gossip or something, then all of a sudden you're going to get crow's feet. I think that like doing things that are harmful, whether that's drinking or using drugs or having a lot of promiscuous sex, it's like, I think that ages women, and you can kind of see it. Like a lot of girls now, when they get out of college, they look older. It's weird. They look like they're like 27, 28, but they're like 22. It's weird. They're like aging faster or something. Same thing with like taking birth control. And
birth control is such a no-no. Like I've been off of it since 2006, and I've just been like real lucky, no scares or anything like that. Like I remember being in college being like, I would front like I was very pro-choice. Like, yeah, I would get an abortion any second, but I was never put in that position. And every girl I know who was put in that position, it like has seriously fucked with them in the long term. And who knows if I had been in that situation, like then you really know if you're pro-choice or pro-life. But I know that the hormones do fuck with you, because like birth control makes you feel like you are pregnant all the time. And it actually affects like what hormones are going into your body. And I'm not sure if it's progesterone or estrogen or like whatever levels it fucks with. But like based on where you are in your cycle, you actually like pick different men. So like when you're at your most fertile, naturally, when you're not on any birth control, women, you tend to pick maybe, and I hate saying alpha because this is overused, but maybe you do pick a guy that you think, oh, like he's a good match. He could protect me. He's smart, strong. Like, yeah, he's a fucking go-getter. And then when you're at the stage of your cycle, when you're like, maybe you like your fertility drops, or you're in that, maybe you're on birth control, and so your body thinks that you're pregnant or whatever, your picker is off, because then you're more likely to go for a guy who's like maybe more of a pussy. I'm putting this in such like blanket terms, but like,
it's true. It makes them more attracted to feminine men. And it's like, you look at what 50, 60 years of birth control has given us. Look at like the cultural figures that are propped up 60 years ago. Sean Connery, John Wayne, all these like Chads. Now it's like Harry Styles. And
in a dress, yeah,
it's weird, and it changes the way that we look too, because there's even estrogen in the tap water because of birth control, and they can't filter it out, and so we're literally drinking estrogen whenever we drink tap water.
Wow. And I think I don't know if it was Jack Murphy or somebody I was talking to that was talking about like there are filters you can get that can help.
Yeah.
Ooh, thank you for the super chat, Justin. I have a hard time respecting women who treat sex casually. That is a highly unpopular take among men. Well, yeah, you want to think it's valuable. You want to think that like your time with that person is valuable.
Because it's like, and I think that there's something in the male mind where, because we prioritize monogamy a lot, because if you want to take like the evolutionary approach, it's like, we don't want to have to worry about perhaps giving our resources to a child that isn't actually ours or something like that. And it's like, if you have easy access to a girl, then there's something in the back of your mind that's like, well, if it was this easy for me, is it going to be this easy for the next guy? And, you can tell yourself like, no, I'm just that special. I've just got such good game, man. But it's like, dude, you're probably not the first one. I think, what's the rule in American Pie? You take the woman's said body counts and like multiply it by 3 or something. By 3.
Right. And take a guy's and
multiply by 3.
Divide, or like take a guy's and like subtract.
Yeah. So
I just say 8. It's much simpler math that way. I'm just like, oh yeah, 8. That sounds good. That's a good number. Okay, right. You were bringing up who our kind of male role models are in pop culture, Hollywood, whatever. And you did this Texans react to Pride Month video. Were you surprised by any of the responses you got from the local Texans? They seem to be pretty chill and pretty much like, yeah, live and let live, like go be gay. Nobody's anti-gay in Texas. Nobody I've ever met is like, oh, gays should be killed. It's like, no.
Yeah, that was exactly what I expected from them. And in a way, that's good and bad. It's good because it, kind of, I think that there's a lot of hesitancy amongst gay people who might be inclined to like vote for right-wing policies because, maybe they think that like we really are that homophobic. But then it's also bad because it's like, I think that I could basically ask that same demographic any question about like, are you okay with people doing this? And they would all kind of have that like live and let live mentality. And that's fine as long as everybody's on the same page, but everybody's not on the same page. So we have left-wing movements and agendas that are propagating and they don't want to live and let live. They're imposing this upon people militantly. And then the right says, now, wait a minute. What if we all just live and let live? And it's like you're asking them to basically have mercy on you, and they're not willing to do that. And so it was that's kind of, I guess, the more analytical take from that video. It was fun, and it was supposed to be fun, but like it also kind of is emblematic of where we're at as a nation and why we're losing so badly.
Right, because you think live and let live is like the high value response, but really it's like, yeah, we, like you said in this video you did, like what conservatives need. I forget the title, but it was like what conservatives like really need to be doing now. And it's like, yeah, you just kind of can't. Not that you have to, in a sense, you do have to fight like the left. You do, because they're winning, and it's like, well, conservatives will say, well, we don't want to stoop to their level, but you know what? Look what happened when Candace Owens really finally went after Chrissy Teigen. Then she finally got what she deserved. Hate her guts. We had a question from one of your fans earlier. They wanted to know, did you hit it off with the waitress from that video, the Texans React to Pride Month, that you were talking to outside?
A gentleman never tells. A gentleman never tells.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. And you were showing folks pictures of Lil Nas X. I guess he was on, what was it, the BET Awards or some award show.
Yeah.
Where he like kissed a male dancer. And then I was noticing all his fans were like getting pissed when people would mention on Twitter, like, yeah, Madonna and Britney actually did it first in the 2003 VMAs. Do you feel torn? Like, oh, well, we shouldn't be elevating this Lil Nas guy. We shouldn't, you and I, even now, ultimately, should we not be talking about him at all? If our goal is to not like elevate his degeneracy or whatever, or is it important to talk about so people can see, yeah, it's not nothing. It's not just pop culture. It's sort of like insidious, and it like seeps into our like, I don't know, our souls in a way.
Yeah, I think we have to, because, well, that is true. That is a good point, that garbage in, garbage out. You kind of, anything that you ingest, even in terms of information or media that you're consuming, I think does affect your spirit, frankly. But we don't have, unfortunately, primetime cable television slots. If we did, then I would say probably don't talk about it. But because we're kind of dissenting voices in society, I think we do have to talk about it, because, we do have, thankfully, a little bit of influence. And I think we need to use that to speak out against what the mainstream narrative is pushing so evangelically. Because if we don't talk about it, then the only thing that's going to be heard is the other people talking about it, because they're going to. And so we have to use what little power we have to speak out against that and show people that there are alternate perspectives on these things.
And a chat from Vertigo here. Yeah, conservatives have conserved nothing. We need something much stronger to fight what we're up against now. And
True.
yeah, Andrew, exactly my point from earlier. Yeah, women on the pill cut off her hormone receptors will always pick the wrong partners. It's exactly what I'm saying. I've read.
True.
So true. Yeah, and you won't even know. You'll be like, oh wow, why am I such a bitch all of a sudden? Is it the birth control? But it goes more than just into your mood, like your picker is thrown off. One of your fans wanted to know, how did you become the Black person expert on Slightly Offensive?
Oh, I mean, I grew up 20 minutes outside of Detroit. I went to a very diverse school. I've always had a lot of Black friends, which I know is like the line that people, I'm not raised by Black friends. But I say that tongue in cheek, and it is a joke, but I do actually feel like I have a better understanding of Black culture than basically anybody on the right, except for maybe a few people, because I grew up in it. And like even what my dad did for work, I mean, every weekend was spent in the churches in the neighborhoods in Detroit, which I would argue, and maybe I'm not in the position to argue this as a white person, is like really the core of like Black America is like in the church. And I spent almost every weekend a few hours in these churches.
What did your dad do?
Well, I don't want to get into that because
okay.
I'm in trouble, but yeah. And so we just spent a lot of time there, and I always really liked them because they're just very fun. I don't know, and maybe I guess this is stereotyping, but there's at least in the church, and I'm not going to pretend that there's not problems, because there are, as we know, but every time I've been in the church, it's just always so fun. I play drums, and they would always let me play their drum sets, and the organist would get on the organ, and we'd jam with gospel music. It was so fun. And then going to school with a lot of Black kids, I feel like I actually have a really good understanding of how that culture exists, because a lot of times people want to pretend that either it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Black culture. There's no such thing as any culture. And we're all just Americans, which is true, I guess, but it's also very not true. There's a reason that people live in communities and neighborhoods and things like that. Or they want to just say, well, you can't talk about it at all. Or if you do talk about it, you can only say good things about it, but you can't say anything bad about it. And I think that that's not helpful or productive. I'm trying to find a picture though right now to substantiate my expertise.
What's funny is a comedian that I know, Dave Landau, also, he's from Detroit. Also, I feel like Black person expert, just has a cool way about him. And it's I trust him as a source.
Yeah, he can contribute, but I'm going to go ahead and retain that I am the ultimate authority on, dude, where is this picture? It's so funny. I'm going to be so upset if I can't find it. I think that you'll really like to see it.
Okay.
Yes, this is me. I think this was the last day of school in 2014. That's me and my homies.
Oh my God. You look exactly the same. This is so funny.
This is what, when you don't damage your body.
You haven't sinned. Yeah.
Look at that.
You haven't lived a life of sin.
Homies.
Wow. It's this was moments before they stole my bike. No.
Whoa. Literally what happened was this was, I think, 3 or 4 houses down from mine. We were walking home from school, and me and my buddy, we saw them down there, and so we went to go talk to them because we all it was the last day of school. We all got out, and I think I literally just went up and I was like, "Hey girls, let's see some gang signs." And they immediately
camped them into it.
Threw up gang signs. That's what's funny too, is I never got into any trouble doing this, but and this is so important too with young men, acknowledging the stereotypes and just making fun of them. It's so much fun. It's my favorite thing in the world. We would, give our Black friends shit, and they would give us shit back, and for anything. It was so we need that. You need to, instead of pretending the differences don't exist and then watching that sort of ferment and become unstable over time, which I think is what America is doing right now. You have to just acknowledge them and just poke fun at them. Walking up to a group of Black girls, hey, throw up some gang signs.
Yeah.
You're okay. And it was funny. It was fine.
Yeah, not all. That's the thing, is stereotypes got a bad rap. Not all stereotypes are bad. And that's just the basis of so much comedy, is observing the stereotypes. They don't come from nowhere. They're not made up. They don't come from thin air. They come from reality. And I think, Yeah, you have to always acknowledge reality. So in one of your recent videos, you talked about like what conservatives need to do. You mentioned something called fake conservatism or performative conservatism. Do you think this thrives more because of social media in a sense, or do you think it's just easier to pretend you're for the cause and not addressing the root problems?
I think it probably thrives more with social media because, you know, I don't even use Facebook anymore because it made me a danger to myself just reading what these people were saying. And that's actually the biggest lesson I've learned in this whole journey. I always thought that the biggest headaches I would get would be from people on the left, but it's actually people on the right who are just stupid. And yeah, because, you know, Ron DeSantis, who I like, will do something and he'll sign a bill that is supposed to like do this or that. And then they see the headline, you know, DeSantis takes on big tech, and they're all like, yay, that means that we're not going to have this problem anymore. But then you like read the bill and it's actually like basically inconsequential, but people are still like, you know, in this echo chamber, and they think that they're winning and that we're dunking on liberals left and right. We're taking back the culture, but we're not. We're losers, and we haven't had a significant victory in the last 70 years, at least, in terms of at least what's lasted. So yeah, it's very performative, and they just want lobbying contracts. And that's why I have to be careful when I say this, but I think it's true. Extremism, which connotes violence, which it shouldn't. Extremism, I think, just means that like you are at the extreme of the distribution. Like if you look at like, you know, where the bell curve of American politics, there's going to be people who are like farther right, and they're going to be on the extremes of that. So they are extremists or whatever. That doesn't mean that they're like, you know, violent or whatever. It just means that they're a little bit more entrenched in their beliefs than the average person would be. But I think that extremism and passion and conviction all kind of go together. I think it's all kind of like one-to-one. And that's what I've noticed when I watch some of these more performative conservatives who don't do anything, is like you look in their eyes and they don't, there's nothing there. They don't actually like care about what they're doing. They have no soul and like no conviction and passion for anything that they're doing. And that's, I think, why they're ineffective. Maybe that was like beaten out of them. Maybe they were like demoralized, but yeah. And it's like me, when I'm not sick, I tend to be pretty high energy, and I also tend to be pretty extreme in my beliefs, but not in like a bad way. It's just, I don't know. But I think that
you're fired up. Yeah, exactly. You give a shit.
And I think that's what's necessary to actually do something. But so many conservatives are brainwashed literally through propaganda campaigns of approved conservative rhetoric and talking points, which exist because the left knows that they're not a threat to the system. That's why, frankly, some of these people, you look at who are the biggest engagements on Facebook.com or YouTube even, like, do you really think that big tech would allow for those types of voices to be so prominent if they were really posing a threat to the system? No, of course not. But where's I going with that? Threat to the system.
What is it, like controlled opposition? Okay.
It's like, I'll say something and I'll say, you know, we need to do this and we need to do this. We should be doing this. Well, but John, that's what the left does. Like you said, well, we don't want to stoop to their level. It's like, why do you think they win? Like their idea of a real, you know, conservative movement with teeth that can beat the left is essentially the idea of live and let live taken to the extreme. Like, oh, well, if we could just return to a libertarian society, it's like, okay, that can't exist because the people who are trying to crush you don't want that to happen. They want to win. You want to stop playing the game. That's not how power works. That's not how politics works. Everybody virtually at every point in history understood this until like 50 years ago, including our founding fathers. So yeah, that's.
So in a sense, like, we don't want to generalize, but it's like, if we were going to generalize, would you say like libertarians generally don't confront reality because they kind of just live in this?
100%. It's a completely idealistic ideology. It assumes the perfectibility of the individual. Like, and those arguments, they sound so good, just like the arguments for socialism sound so good, but you think about it within the context of human nature and you're like, that's not how that works. Like, you know, and Ron Paul, who I really like, he had a line in one of the debates in, I think, 2012, where he said, well, we don't need murder to be illegal. The reason I don't kill somebody isn't because it's illegal. It's because I know it's not the right thing to do. And everyone's like, that's so true. I personally am responsible enough to not murder people. So that must mean the whole society doesn't need the anti-murder law. And it's like, that's not how that works. People are flawed. They are selfish. They are predisposed towards chaos, and you need to have order in society in order to actually have freedom. And Edmund Burke wrote about that in one of the founding, I guess, texts of modern conservatism, Reflections on the Revolution in France. And he pointed that out. You have to have order if you're going to have freedom, because if you don't have order, then you're going to have chaos.
So do you think we ever really could, by we, I mean, do you think conservatives or Republicans and libertarians could ever meet in the middle for a common purpose?
No, they, frankly, and I understand it and I sympathize with them because I myself was a libertarian, but I'm getting to a point where I'm more than willing to tread on them, so to speak. Like I will shut them out of the conversation in terms of, not like I'm gonna kick them off big tech or something, but like I'm not even willing to entertain ideas that I know are just so stupid in conversation when we're dealing with such a accelerated timeline like we are now. I don't think that we have time to really debate. I don't know. Maybe we should end, government contracts for roads and give it back to the private sector.
Focusing on anarchy or
they're
something.
Trying to teach kindergartners about anal sex. Like, can we please?
Right. This is happening right now. Yeah.
So I think what's probably going to happen is either we're going to lose and the country is going to look something like maybe South Africa with what's going on right now in about 20 years, or a bunch of young men are basically going to realize that their birthright is being stolen from them and they have nothing to lose. And they're going to get really mad about it. And then we're probably going to have some form of like authoritarian right-wing government, which doesn't mean, by the way, fascism. And it doesn't mean totalitarianism. It basically just means conservatism with balls. Literally the same thing that we had in the first half of the 20th century, where if you were a communist, you would not be able to get a job in education or in media, any place with influence. Like,
wow,
that's good.
Why the opposite of now?
That's literally good. And you see how they flipped the table completely. Because there was a time in this country where if you were a communist, you couldn't get hired and you would be blacklisted from society. And then what did they say? Well, we just want free speech, right? We just want free speech. And then the American thought, okay, we'll give you a little bit of free speech. And then look what happened. They infiltrated the institutions and now you can't get a job and now you are getting canceled. So we kind of have this nostalgia for like, oh, old America when everyone was unified. Do you know why we were unified? Do you know why everything was peaceful and prosperous? Because we put communists in jail, okay? That is a good thing. Just kidding. Not jail. Just don't let them work in academia. Not jail. I disavow.
And most people have no problem with gays getting married, but lots of people, I would say most people have problems with the idea that their kid could be taking puberty blockers without parental consent, which is like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to acknowledge some of these super chats. Some of them were questions for you. Did we do this one about women who treat sex casually? I think we
did.
I think we did that one. Hold on. All right, more questions for you. From Disturbed to K7 Sub Homies. I'm under the belief that people have to worship something like God, their self, an idea, etc. I think I have myself neglected the first, and it has left me without purpose. Any thoughts?
Yeah, and this is I tell this to, or my friends and I talk about this a lot. Like, if you don't ground yourself in something objective and something immaterial, you are literally just an aggregate of carbon. Like, if I were to go get my semi-functional Tech 9 and paint the wall with my brain matter, that doesn't matter because that's just molecules moving around, right? It's literally no different than if I poured some water on the ground. It's just molecules moving around. You have no real meaning. You're just this thing. And so I think that gets to people and it corrodes their spirit. And so I would say that worshiping the self is even worse in a way, because I don't think that we have the capacity to really know like what is good for us. Like, obviously we know not to put our hands into garbage disposal, things like that. But it's like that, I think, walks a very thin line with hedonism. Like, what makes me happy? Doing this thing that feels good. And I think that actually makes people depressed, and then they become dependent upon those things that they thought would make them happy, like pornography, for example. So I think that you have to be grounded. And that's like what brought me back to the faith, because I was raised Catholic. I was very disappointed with the education that I got. Started asking questions, and frankly, my mom just couldn't answer them. Like, very basic Reddit tier, like, well, if I have original sin, does that mean I'm going to go to hell if I'm a baby and I die? And like, she just didn't know how to answer that question, which, a lot of Christians don't. And it's a really simple question once you like do 2 minutes of reading. But then, yeah, I decided that I was like an edgy atheist, blah, blah, blah. Then I noticed that like, I would see things going on around me, and it would like hurt it would make me sad. Like, you know, I got into middle school, high school, and I would see people being degenerate and like, you know, using a lot of drugs and like hooking up. And for whatever reason, it just like made me sad. I couldn't figure out why. And so then I started wearing my cross, and I told myself, even if I don't like believe in God, I know that like these are my values. And so I will keep this on myself always, except for when I shower. And then from there, I think I just I read a couple books, and I realized that like everything that I believe is already written in the Bible. And the Bible says that God inscribes this on my heart, which is the only reason that would make sense, because I wasn't taught these things from my parents. I had great parents, but they never just had these conversations with me. For whatever reason, I just felt this way about things. And then I read like in the Bible, and it's like, oh, that's why. And I can't think of any other explanation for that. And it just makes so much sense. And that's why I have that one line that my fans think is funny. I did a live stream at like 3 a.m. We were talking about God, and I just said, God just makes sense, bro. And it's just true. Like if you actually read the Bible, I've never read a book where so many things have just made sense than the Bible. You know, even if it's like a political book or whatever, like things clicking, it's like, it's the Bible always. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it was talking to our buddy Elijah, which made me realize he was like, I was telling him how, you know, I spent my 20s basically reading self-help books, and, you know, cause you're looking for like motivation, validation, it's some sort of guidance, right? Guidance source. And he's like, bro, just Proverbs, just read Proverbs. It's all self-help. It's all like takeaway quotes. And it's like, oh, wow. He's like, everything that you're looking for is in the Bible. Like everything that you think you need that can help you, give you strength, give you guidance, like pick you up. And it's like, oh, wow, it's been there all along. And I just never thought of it because like, oh, my grandma had lots of Bibles and that's for old people. And so now I'm like getting curious about it again, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Question for you from Matthew Hammond. What are John's top questions men should ask women to speed the process of finding out if they are worth pursuing?
If she has a relationship with God, and if she has a relationship with her dad, because as we talked about, human nature is predisposed towards chaos and sin. And I think that that's accelerated with women. I think men are like that too, but I think it'll manifest more quickly in women if they don't have something to ground themselves in, which would be either a good relationship with their father or ideally a good relationship with God. Because otherwise, I think that people, especially young women, will find ways to basically rationalize whatever they want above all else. They need to know that, like, you know, they are cared about and protected and provided for, but also kind of have that thing in the back of their mind, like, if I do this, there's going to be a man in the sky who's very upset with me, and they kind of, you know, keep them level. And this isn't like a rule. I'm sure that you can find very nice girls who maybe don't have those prerequisites, but I think that it might be a better use of your time, if you are concerned with time, to just sort of use those as kind of like hit or miss, and then move on from there.
Yeah, I would say too, like looking at maybe spending habits, you know, like, is there an expectation that you are going to spend a lot of money on them, which may or not be sustainable depending on like what job you might lose or get, you know? It's like the core values that are going to be there with no matter, you know, whether you're broke or rolling in it, or yeah, just trying to figure out like if someone's superficially interested. I know that's a thing probably a lot of guys worry about, like, oh, I don't want to end up with like a gold digger, because the culture promotes it. Like the culture encourages women to like, get it, girl, right? Like, and guys are so kind of easy in a sense to get money from, because like just from how much money guys could spend on porn or OnlyFans, or just simping is expensive sometimes. And that's like another reason why I won't do OnlyFans, because it's like, I don't want to take advantage. Like support what I do. That's great. But like, I don't want to prey on a man's like biological imperative just to make a buck.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if there's more questions for you. Somebody else was wondering, John, what do you think of constitutional monarchy as a temporary government for a balkanized USA?
Well, I think that I want to be the king. I want to be the king of the Great Lakes Federation. I would love that. Okay, and I'll say this because it's on your channel. I don't know if my channel is quite ready for this yet, but I was vacuuming my couch the other day, and for some
Ooh.
reason I was thinking about this, and it like sort of clicked, and it was following the same process of thought that we just got into with the accelerated nature of people to fall into chaos and sin, and I was thinking about that, and I was also thinking about something I read that is kind of like this old, I guess, piece of wisdom that there's no such thing as a nation of laws. Or there's no such thing as the rule of law, which basically just means that in any society, and this is true, the people who pull the strings are never going to be held to the same standards as the people like us. It's just never going to happen. They will make exceptions. They will even use language to get out of things. You can define racism to mean exactly what you want, and you can just play with the semantics of things and basically get whatever result you want and exempt your friends and yourself from the negative consequences. You can always do that because people are flawed. And then I thought about that with like the take on women. I think they need to have a deep relationship with God because of that. And then I was like, wait a minute. The only people who I would really trust to govern are like deeply religious people, because that is the only person who will have the optimal chance of not trying to be selfish and screw people over. And then it's like, okay, well, how do you measure who truly has a good relationship with God and who like truly is a good person? And I think the best way to do that would just be by measuring how much they use power to crush what we know objectively is evil. And so then I was kind of like, wait a minute. Is like theocratic fascism a good idea? Is constitutional like Orthodox Christian monarchy, is that a good idea? Was Tsar Nicholas II correct? I was just like going through this whole thing. I don't know if I actually believe that yet. It's just a little thought experiment that I went on. But I think that's like basically correct. As we lose religion, we lose that grounding and that sense of objective morality, and we start to just pursue ourselves at the expense of others and our countrymen and those even who we care about. And it's like, I kind of would only trust like really, really deeply religious people to hold power, because everybody else is just working for Satan.
They're just out for themselves. Everyone who's in power now that you can think of is just, they make decisions based on keeping themselves in power. Whereas like you do have a point, like religious people are all about like, service for others. There's fulfillment there. Cool. Someone else wanted to know what you thought of the idea of a national divorce, like the country splitting up into, I guess, left and right, or red and blue.
I'm in favor of it. And even I think upwards of 40% of people in both parties are in favor of it. And I think the only reason it's not being discussed in the mainstream is because it would take off like something that takes off. I don't know. Like everybody wants this. There's no reason for us to really stay together. We are so balkanized and so divided. The only thing I can think of is like nostalgia. Like, oh, what a shame this is, isn't it? Can't we just stay together for the kids? And it's like, no, I don't want to. I'm willing to sacrifice.
Visit if they want.
Yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice like, national parks in California if it means that I don't have to worry about my kids getting their dicks chopped off. I'm totally in favor of it.
Okay, cool. One of your fans wanted to know if you had heard of, I guess it was a Christian drama called The Chosen.
I have not.
Okay. That's a quick answer. This is we got a super chat question for you both. What's your go-to jumping off point for red pilling your blue pilled friends? My God, I mean, they won't even give me the chance. They've unfriended me, most of them.
Oh, that's a good question.
I always say, look at Epstein. That's like a big, blatant example. Like the media knew, they hid it. They knew it was wrong. They knew it had deep roots. They had a lot of the information years ago, but they were stifled.
I never talk to anybody unless they ask me, because I think that politics is almost exclusively personal, and people under no circumstances usually want to be told things and told that they're wrong and you need to think this way, because they get ego invested into it, which maybe is not very becoming, but nonetheless it is true. So I wait for things to happen, whether that's we're at a restaurant and something happens, someone flips out because someone's not wearing a mask or something like that, or for national events like last summer, I think was very red pilling for a lot of people, just seeing all the chaos in these cities. And why do you think that is? And I'll even ask them like, hey, what's going on? Like, why is that happening? What is that? And then I get them to explain it to me, and I just keep asking them questions and allow for them to sort of, oh, wait a minute, because you really do just have to kind of lead people along. You can't like drag them like, no, this is the truth, because they won't. Even if you're right and they know that, they won't want to admit it, and they won't allow that to really be retained. They'll think, okay, whatever, you beat me in a debate, cool. But the next day, they're going to go right back to whatever opinions they already had. You have to ask them questions and make them feel like they're like almost working through it with you, or showing you or explaining it to you. And then you can kind of get them to, break the conditioning, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Show your work. No adult wants to be told they're wrong. Nobody wants
to be like, by a 21-year-old. What is this kid more than you?
Incel.
I know.
It's similar to Hotep Jesus's process. He asks a lot of questions, like, what's the distraction today? Or like, I like the other one the other day he tweeted, like, have you graduated from Twitter, in the sense that you're not arguing on Twitter anymore? And I like just saw that after I was arguing with somebody. I was like, you got me. Okay, yeah, you did mention how right-wing people now are treated like how communists were treated in the 50s. It's like coming out. How do you heal spiritual sickness, and how do you know if you are spiritually ill?
I think you can just kind of know. If you have to ask, it's probably not as pervasive, but I think that people just kind of know when, you're waking up and you're going through your day, and you sort of just have this like storm cloud over you, so to speak. And I think the way to, my faith says that the way to get out of that is to go to confession and to achieve a state of grace, and pray the rosary and do things like that. And then it's like, in my experience, it's like literally like a weapon. It's very powerful, like being in that state of grace, and you just notice that like the Holy Spirit is in you, and things are just better. And I've never heard anything different. I've never heard like people who actually live as though they are practicing Christians or Catholics, and then things get worse for them, or there's like, no, everybody always notices a very drastic change, which maybe it's a placebo or whatever, but I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I find like when I'm feeling like depressed or whatever, like it sounds so corny, but I remember that like happiness wants to come into you. Like I think a human's natural state is to just, it's not anything you become or achieve. It's like you can decide to like let happiness in you. And I'm trying to say this without sounding sexual, but like I will focus on be like, let me just kind of just drop my shit, what I'm worrying about right now, and just sort of like let happiness come to you and start being grateful and just, counting your blessings. And then like sometimes before you go to bed at night, like God or whoever, like help me work on whatever problem, whatever thing is you're worried about. And I usually in the morning wake up feeling lighter and better about it. Yeah. You had an interesting take. You were like, conservative influencers should not be wasting their time, like Matt Walsh raising $100K to own AOC.
I was so shocked. I love Matt Walsh. He rarely misses. And he's actually, his books are what got me back into Christianity. And I was so shocked to see that from him. Like, I've never read anything from him and thought, no, he's wrong on this. And then I saw that and I was like, what? What point are you trying to make that like, oh, they're not going to take the money because they're hypocrites or whatever? I was like, and even he usually thinks that that's a stupid sort of strategy. Hypocrisy. And here's actually something, I thought of this the other day. I was thinking about somebody, and I was like, they're like not that smart. I was thinking about their like political analysis, and I realized that that's really what separates like a good commentator from a bad commentator, is the level of depth that they can go. And the best metric is, think of like an iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg in terms of analysis of politics, which requires no insight or research or anything, is pointing out hypocrisy, because literally all it requires is that you have the capacity to view the difference between what people are saying and what they are doing. And that is it. It is so surface level, and it's so popular. Everybody loves it because it makes them feel good. Well, I'm not a hypocrite. This person's a hypocrite. But yeah, I thought that was very dumb.
Yeah. Like, can you talk about it more than just like I guess, talking points, right?
Yeah, and then it makes us look bad too, because there's so many things we couldn't even raise, and we're not even trying to raise money for the people who are literally in jail right now because they took a little trip into the Capitol after federal police let them in. But we raised $100,000 for a communist's relative to show that, oh, AOC is actually a hypocrite and a bitch. Did you know that? Well, now you do. Everybody who could know that already knows that.
I mean, she's just all about virtue signaling. She's blaming Trump or blaming whatever, whereas like the average person would be like, yeah, you're doing well. Like you have plenty of money to spare, AOC. Like you could have been helping her out. Here's the money, right? And it's, yeah, it wasn't about the money, and like there are better ways to spend our time, but maybe it did get certain people to turn around and go like, huh, yeah, oh, maybe she is full of shit, you know?
Maybe. I hope. I think I'm kind of cynical, but yeah, that was actually the sad part too, is not that he tried to do it, but that it was successful, and that there were so many people who were like, hey, I'm going to show AOC, and they gave their money. It's sad, but
I think the money probably went back to everybody.
It did.
Yeah.
But I hope that some people got red pilled by that, but I don't know.
Bracket hashtag wants to know what you think of Jenner, of Caitlyn Jenner.
I think I'm actually doing a debate on that tomorrow on Elijah's channel with Lauren Chen, who I like a lot, who I think is also a Christian monarchist. So yeah, we'll talk about that maybe. I don't like him, and I'm not like personally, but see, and that's the thing, like you hear that and you kind of flinch now, but like 5-6 years ago, the right was all about, I'm not going to say it. No, this is wrong. No, but now he was like literally a headline speaker at CPAC. And it's just like, what are we doing? If we can't even conserve nature, biological like realities, what are we even doing? I don't care about tax policy if it means that I'm going to have to pretend that like this man is a woman.
Did you bump into, I saw Elijah took a little bit of some footage like, hey, Caitlyn.
I did not. No, I did not.
Did you, how was CPAC?
It was fun. I met a lot of fans, networked a little bit. Yeah, it was a good time. I think that the event in itself is kind of lame, but I always like to go because all my friends go and you meet some fans. And there was this one little boy, he was like 13, and I was walking by, and he looked at me and he just goes, I recognize you. And I was like,
Aww.
And then he was so excited, and he was like, can you sign my book? And I was like, yeah, dude. And,
that's cute. How does that make you feel?
So good. Like I love, and this sounds so bad, but I like my favorite people in the world are like 13 to like 16-year-old boys, because it's just such a formative stage in your life. You're so confused. You have no idea what to do about anything. You're so excited about like, you know, video games and Mountain Dew and mischief. And I just love it so much. And I love the energy, because it's like really like the unperverted male spirit before you kind of get like beaten down by
sticks and snails and puppy dog tails. Yeah, it's no cynicism or cynicalness.
And, no, it's just like he had just such a life in his eyes. He was so excited, and I was like very happy that like I could bring that to him. I guess that feeling of like, and that's why I always, whenever I meet people, I even hate calling them fans. I try to call them like the audience, because I don't like to put myself on a pedestal, because I don't think that like I do anything that like other people couldn't do if they were in my position. Like if you want to like research 30 hours a week, you be me, but some people just don't want to. That's fine. I'll do it. And so I always try to like let them talk to me as long as they want to, because I've met people before who I like really look up to, and you kind of like want to like get something out of that interaction and like feel good about it walking away. Like there's nothing more heartbreaking than like, you know, meeting somebody who like really inspires you and they're like a dick to you. Yeah, like maybe like, you know, you shouldn't have liked them that much, but like it's just, you know, it's the way we are. And so I always kind of like let people talk to me as much as they want to, because I know that for them, for whatever reason, they like look up to me, and that means a lot to me, but I'm sure it means a lot to them too. So yeah, it was cool. He handed me a Glenn Beck book too. That I think his mom got for him. And I signed the Glenn Beck book, and I was like thinking to myself, like, if you only knew how much different I was from Glenn Beck.
Yeah, somebody after a stand-up show had me sign somebody else's book. I'm like, I like the energy. I appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, that's really neat. I kind of agree that the sort of cost of being kind of an internet person or a public figure is like, yeah, I think the your fans deserve a little bit more patience from you. So if you are having a rough day or just not feeling it, and somebody comes up to you like, well, it's like I do feel like you a little bit owe it to them. within reason. Like if someone's like crawling all over you, that's bad. But if someone's like a fan, like, yeah, you do owe a little bit of niceness to them.
Yeah, I've never had a weird interaction with like people like being weird. They're like normal people. Sometimes they say things that are like, especially with like the pornography dissertation and everything. It's just like people come up to me and they're just, oh, you don't even know what I was watching, man. And I was like, yep, and I don't want to. It's just
And they start telling you, you're like, okay.
Yeah, a little TMI, but it's all right. It's all right.
By when you said like the event of CPAC is lame, like what do you mean by that? Like how is it structured?
It's just very, like the title of it was CPAC, America Uncanceled. And it was like, they just took down a statue of Robert E. Lee. What'd you do to stop that? Nothing. They're literally canceling America, defined by its history, defined by its culture, everything. And you think that you can just say, nope, not canceled. Yes, you are, you idiot. Like it's literally the equivalent of like being mugged and they like take your wallet. I just mugged you. No, you didn't. I'm not going to allow you to have that power over me. You didn't.
I just got a new wallet. No,
yeah, it's like, no, they did, idiot. Yeah. But even there was a video of me that my friend took, Nuance Bro, really smart guy. And he took a video of me asleep during Trump's speech. I like fell asleep because it was just very, and I love Trump, but it was very like, it was not 2015 Trump. It was not 2016.
Really? What's changed?
He is just a little bit more establishment now.
Oh man, really? You felt he was like more careful?
I mean, with what they tell him to say and what to focus on, it's just kind of like, I miss the old Trump, when's the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? It doesn't happen. I miss that Trump.
Oh,
and, he did have a very interesting line though, this speech. He said, they were talking about aircraft carriers. He said something about like steam. And then he said, like, now we have so much steam that we don't even know what to do with it. And at first I didn't think anything, but then I look over and Nuance Bro was laughing. And then it made me like replay the sentence in my head and realize just like how stupid of a sentence that is. Not like he's stupid, but the way he talks is always like, and we're going to win so much, you won't even know what to do with it. And we're going to have so much money coming in, you won't even know what to do with it. So him to like apply that framework to steam, and we have so much steam, we don't even know what to do with it. It's like, it's steam. Open a window.
Yeah. So aw, that stinks. All right. Well, yeah, I guess they're getting into his head a little bit. Let's see. Oh, did you bump into Nick Fuentes while you were at CPAC?
I did, yeah.
Was he able to like run around for a little bit? Was he immediately booted out? Like what happened there?
Yeah, he pulled up to the front and he got his boys out there with him, and then they mobbed into the hotel. And then they tried to get in. They were turned away. And then they saw like some journalist who like writes for Salon or something who was there to like dox people. And then they like bullied him, which was funny. And then he took off and rode into the sunset. And then he gave a speech at the hotel across the street a little bit later that day.
Wow, that reminds me like of the times I'd see like Alex Jones in DC, like at the different rallies. Like they wouldn't let him like speak with the like legit group, but he would just speak like just a few meters away and like get a bigger crowd. Why was Nick like? Why was he banned from there?
I don't know. I think he's basically banned from everywhere. I don't know if he's actually explicitly banned. I think he was, and I may be wrong. I think he was booted out like 2 years ago at CPAC, but I don't really know the story there. I don't know. Maybe it was because he wasn't registered, which might be naive. Maybe he like literally is just banned. He can't even register, but I don't know.
He's just bad boy for life,
I guess.
Okay, cool. This was so great, John. What do you want to plug? What's coming up for you? What are you working on? Where do you want people to go and follow you?
YouTube.com/John Doyle, heckoffcommie.com. That's the website and the YouTube. We've got more content coming. I'm going to Florida this weekend for SAS, and then also I'm speaking at this American Populist Summit event. Then after that, we're going to try to get more videos out. We're going to shoot for like 2 a week and see if we can get back into the groove of things.
What's SAS?
Student Action Summit, Turning Point USA.
Getting sassy. I like it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So more content coming. You got your new set up and running.
Yes.
You're figuring it out. It looks really good based on the last video I saw. And yeah, probably more appearances on Slightly Offensive, I can assume.
The resident guest.
Yeah. This was awesome. John, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Good to talk to you as always.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. I will talk to you soon. Bye.